Hi there. In this video, I'm going to show you how I processed out my meat chickens. The chicken I'm demonstrating on today is not actually a meat breed, but for demonstration purposes, I was processing it anyways. So in this video, I am showing you the step-by-steps of what I do to get my birds ready for the freezer. We'll get started. So first off, I am starting with a chicken that's been cleaned. And so my husband does the plucking and the gutting, and then he hands it off to me. So what I do is I like to find the joint, and I'm cutting through tendons. You never really want to cut through bone. I always start with making small little cuts. It's just like when you're backing up a trailer, small little adjustments is how you want to get this done. So once you kind of get an idea of where to cut, you'll see two little bumps, and you want to cut between those two little bumps that join and then cut through the tendons. And usually it comes right off. They are tough to cut though because they are tendons. So next, what I always start with is I kind of pull the legs and I cut that skin. As you can see, it's quite disconnected. It's very hollow in there. So it makes it easy to just kind of slice through the skin, and then you expose where the thigh and the carcass are separate. And you do the same on the other side. And it's quite an easy process. Once you can see in there, you can really see very clearly where things connect. So you want to push the leg down and it'll pop, and you'll see that little white bone that's coming up. You want to pop that out of the joint because you're going to cut along the back side of that, and that will detach the thigh from the carcass of the chicken. And you'll hit a bone right there. You're going to hit a bone, and you just kind of got to scooch around it. Or you can come in from the other side, whatever works best. Every breed of chicken will be different of how it kind of contours along there. So you just gotta figure it out what works for you. There's no right or wrong way specifically of doing that part that I personally find. Next, I'm doing my chickens with boneless, skinless chicken thighs for the most part. So what I'm doing is I'm just taking the skin off and exposing the thigh, leaving it on the leg. And I'm cutting, you can see there's a line of fat on the underside of that thigh, and see just how easy that cut through. I just followed that line of fat and it just cut right through that joint. And there it is. The chicken has a drumstick with skin on and a chicken thigh with skin off. And away we go to the next side. So very simple. Sometimes I miss it too. Sometimes when I go to cut, I have to readjust because every chicken will be different. Every breed of chicken is just slightly different. These ones, it took me a bit to get used to on these ones because they're not a meat bird. These are more of a barnyard run, so they are just slightly different than what many other birds are. So it's just trial and error, and see how there's that bone in there. Some of them I left the bone in, and some of them I took it off. Yeah, see, I'm just kind of tracing along where I know that the joint is, because I can tell where the joint is because it bends. And so I peel the skin back, cut off the excess skin, and then I just find that fat line that contours along there, and see, there it goes, just cutting it right along that fat line. And if you seem to hit bone, just move the knife over just slightly and you'll find it. It's pretty clear. If you have a chicken that is it's not overly, like these chickens are pretty lean, but I don't know if you have fat deposits, if you would be able to see more so. So this here, I'm just taking off the wing. I don't want to cut into the breast, so I just kind of cut that pocket of skin. So I expose that joint, and then I pop that joint out. And then what I'm doing is I'm coming around to the other side, and I'm going to slice it the other direction so I don't cut into the breast. And And so basically I'm cutting a V, and then I just cut out cut through the tendon, and it's off, right? So it come out of the joint, and then it cut the tendon, and there it is. It's divided off of the breast, and I didn't damage the breast. And I'm just going to cut the tip off of the wing. This is the part, it's probably the easiest part of cutting up a chicken, and this is the part I always miss, the joint. Like I don't know what it is about the tip of the wing that I just never can do it properly. Never could. Even when I would help in the meat shop sometimes. My dad was a butcher. So even when we would do a few chickens there, I always had to struggle with that. But here we go. I just sliced through, and now I have two pieces of wings, right? And then there they go. Oh, and looks like I got another chicken. I better move it here because I'm getting behind. All right, so we're gonna get onto the other wing now. And so I'm kind of slicing down and around to expose that joint. I'm not cutting into meat or anything. I'm just kind of cutting, kind of like the knee. I just kind of slowly cut little bits until I can see what's going on and identify where that joint is. And then, I don't cut into that breast at all by just paying attention to where I'm cutting and just exposing it. And sometimes you do have to feel around to see where it's at. I think if you have chickens that are more plump, it might be a little bit more challenging to do this part, but just take it slow until you figure it out where it's at. And that's what I had to do with these birds. It eventually I kind of was able to get the hang of it, of where to cut specifically without having to guess. It just kind of become really intuitive, more so than, playing a game of Where's Waldo when it comes to finding the joints or the sockets. So yeah, I'm just cutting through tendons. I'm not cutting any bones. It's already popped out of the joint, and there it is. So there's the second wing. I'm going to try to get this stupid tip off. Just one day I will figure this out for myself, but for now I will struggle. This is my life struggle right here, is just the tip. Anyway, look at that victory. Okay, moving on. We're gonna cut into the wings, and we're just gonna find that little knuckle joint thing there. Sometimes you do have to pull them and expose it and wiggle it around to find it. And then just, see, I needed to expose this. For some reason, it was just being so stubborn. And there it is, just little bit by little bit. And I kept cutting in the same spot, and I just needed to, get my confidence of that was the right spot, to be able to see. Just if you make little slices, you'll be able to see where those joints are, and then you can just slice right through. So I am skinning these chickens. We are keeping the skin on some areas, but I don't typically cook chicken breast with skin on. I don't cook chicken breast with the breast bones in. I cook boneless, skinless chicken breast. And so this is not going to waste. This is going to be used for food for our animals. So the chicken fat and skin is not going to waste. But what I prefer to do is just get it peeled skinned. And some chickens you can just pull the skin right off. It'll come right off. This one was just really stubborn, so I wanted to just make sure I didn't make a big mess, and it was easier for me to just kind of skin it with a knife. And then there was some spots that got a little bit warm when it got dipped, and so I just wanted to cut that away. And this is my preference of just making sure it's nice and clean, no pin feathers, nothing in it. I just want to kind of make sure that the skin is good. The skin that I left on the back, I am putting it in the stock pot, and I'm identifying where the ribs go. So I'm going to cut with scissors. You'll see, I'm kind of following the backbone and then the neck. Look at how my scissors are coming up by the neck. I'm just kind of cutting like like I'm just following that slope of like the not natural contour. And I am slicing through ribs, but they're very thin, so they just cut right through with the scissors. And I'm just identifying how far back to go based on where the breast is ending. And every chicken will be different. So I know watching YouTube videos can be very confusing because they're like, this is where you cut. And it's like, okay, but if you have that specific type of meat bird, yes, you cut there. And I just find it so challenging to kind of follow those instructions. You just gotta follow it. And if you lose a little bit of the edge of the breast meat, that's okay, because you can keep the side you've like opposite and put it into your stock pot and create stock, and you're still going to be able to get the nutrition out of that meat in what you're making out of the product of that. And that's what I do. I don't waste any of the bird. It all gets used. And so yeah, so see now I had literally just pulled it apart and broke the backbone and the breastbone apart. It just literally pulls apart. So when you cut it like that, and then now what I'm doing is I'm just tracing alongside the breastbone. This is a filleting knife, and the thing with the breast is you can make a small little incision on the top, but then you have to turn your knife inward to follow that bone, because that cartilage, it turns inward. So if you've ever filleted a fish, you'll know like a lot of fish have like Y bones, and you have to turn your knife to go along that and contour that bone. That's the same sort of thing with deboning a chicken breast. And you don't have to do it in one sweep, but that's where, along that breast, that's where the chicken tenderloin is. And so I want to take the tenderloin and the breast as one piece. Sometimes I will do it separate. So sometimes I'll just cut the breast off and then I'll go back and do that contoured piece separate, because then that'll be the whole chicken tender, the whole tenderloin, which is naturally kind of separated from the breast anyways. So it just depends on the size of the chicken. Like if the chicken has a bigger breast, I will separate them. But if it has a small breast, I want to keep that intact so that it has more meat. And you can see it laying there on the table. But yeah, it's paper thin that's left on there. A lot of it came apart anyway. So but that's the chicken breast and the chicken tender or tenderloin. So that goes into my bucket, and then I just do the other side, and then it's the same process. I find that this side is always more challenging for myself, and I think it's to do with just the angle, like having how I turn my wrist to do it. I have to come up with a better way, because this side is usually where I end up leaving a little bit more meat, and I think it's just my wrist, because I had broken my wrist and stuff before, and it kind of hurts a little bit. So you'll see where I'm putting the knife in, I'm stabbing through. That's actually what we call the wishbone, and I want to debone, detach the breast meat from that bone. So I just cut on both sides of it, so it kind of makes it basically I'm deboning the breast from that bone. This is the side, like I always like to take my time and just look at it and see where things go, because the breastbone and that little it all is just slightly different on every bird. So you can get going on it, and you just have to kind of eyeball it and see where it's going to, and just take small little slices, and then it comes off really, really easy. Yeah, I'm just trying to expose it I wanted to get a better demonstration to show you what I meant. So yeah, I'm kind of contouring it along that side of that cartilage, and I'm kind of flexing that knife a little bit and getting in there. And see, there's a little bit of meat left on there, and that's okay. It's going to go in the stock, and it's completely detached from that wishbone, and it's good to go. So there it is. There's the second breast with the tenderloin intact. This one I did not rip it off. It's all together. See, that's a bigger tenderloin. This chicken had one side of them had a bigger breast than the other. It was more plumped up. So on one side than the other, which is kind of interesting. So I hope that this was able to teach you something or give you some confidence anyways to tackle this project. Anyways, remember, whole chickens in the store are way cheaper than buying portion, and always respect the animal by using all the parts. Much love. Bye for now.